Hi everyone, today is Tuesday, November 4th, and I had a few extra minutes after work today, and there's been so much going on in the Scentsy world that I figured I would sit down and make a quick video. This video will be regarding Bring Back My Bar. So we had all been eagerly awaiting news of Bring Back My Bar. We knew they were going to revamp the system a little bit, and at the end of month live for October, they announced that the program is returning, but instead of doing twice a year voting, we're going to once a year voting, and they will release the top 40 scents over next year when they're seasonally appropriate. So all in all, I think I'm okay with those changes. I'm really glad that they are bringing the program back and that they are still taking customers' votes into consideration. So Scentsy also announced on that end of month live that they were going to be opening up a list of hundreds of bars in Scentsy Club to be added to Scentsy Club during the month of November only. And I think that that really has affected the list of eligible Bring Back My Bars that are up for voting. And to be honest, I am actually excited to see a lot of these scents up for voting. I feel like we are getting a lot of older scents that we haven't seen back in quite some time, and actually a lot of old scents that I am not familiar with. Now this list is missing some noticeable favorites like Pacific Sandalwood and Apple Butter Frosting, scents that people have been waiting to come back for a very long time. I've seen people say Vanilla Mint. So I'm not exactly sure what the criteria were to make up this list, but I do think that these are bars that are older, that we haven't seen in a while, and to me it actually is quite exciting. I've seen some people say that they just aren't super excited by this list, or that they don't know what to vote for. So I figured I would hop on and share my top 15 favorite bars that are on the list, just to give you some reference points if you are unsure of what to vote for. So these are just my personal favorites, and at the end of the video, I might quickly scroll through the whole list just to give some maybe honorable mentions, but I just went through the list and kind of picked my top 15 favorite, and these are in alphabetical order. So first up is Cambridge. This was a scent of the month a very long time ago, and this is one of my all-time favorite masculine scents. So let me pull up Scentsy's description here. This says sweet lemon and pine needle with an intriguing dash of vetiver. So I do get a little hint of kind of a crisp lemon, but this is mostly a very nice masculine cologne or aftershave smell. It actually smells a little bit more like aftershave than cologne to me. It is very refreshing, masculine without being too sharp or woodsy. It's just very soft, a little sweet, but really, really pleasant. This scent actually reminds me a little bit of my papa, of an aftershave he used to use. So it does hold sentimental value to me. And I think it has come back in a Bring Back My Bar in the past, but this is one that I would love to see back again. All right, next up, we have a few scents from the Cozy collection. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe that we have seen these scents available for voting in Bring Back My Bar. So that is very exciting. And these were my two favorite from that collection. First up is Cozy Cashmere. And Scentsy says, slip into a quiet hug of sweet blackberries, rich amber, and cashmere musk. So this definitely has that musky, perfumey vibe, but there's something very sweet about this scent that I really, really like. I think that it probably is that blackberry amber combination. This is really, really pleasant. And this actually reminds me a little bit of vanilla barnwood. So right now I have vanilla barnwood warming in my bedroom, and it's actually been in there for a few days. So that scent definitely has a kind of fruity, like Fruit Loops type note the first day that it's warming. After that note dies off, when you're just left with that kind of ambery, musky base, it actually reminds me of the same base that is in Cozy Cashmere. So if you are a fan of vanilla barnwood or any of Scentsy's cashmere type scents, I really think that you should give Cozy Cashmere a try. Now the scent Cashmere I think is a little different because I get a lot of very kind of powdery floral vibes from that. This is more along the lines of like a cozy cardigan type scent, but this is a little sweeter and a little bit more ambery than that scent. This is really, really pretty, and I would highly, highly recommend Cozy Cashmere. And then a scent from the Cozy collection that I had in my club for years is Cozy Spice. I actually ended up taking this out of my club just because I was amassing quite the collection of it. I really only tend to warm this scent during like the late fall and the winter months, and so I wasn't getting through a ton of these bars, but this is probably my favorite bakery bar of all time, and that is saying something coming from me just because I typically don't love bakery scents. This one is so good though. So Scentsy says this is toasted nutmeg and ginger spice with a dab of Snow White vanilla cream. I love this. This is the perfect combination of sweet and spicy. I think that I like this as a bakery scent just because it doesn't really have a very heavy bready or cakey note. It's just sweet and spicy. So you definitely get a good dose of the vanilla cream, and I get a lot of the nutmeg. It is a very sweet, kind of mild nutmeg. And then there is a little bit of ginger spice just to kind of make it a little sharp. But this is the most mild, sweet, beautiful bakery scent. It is a really good performer, and I would love to see this one come back and bring back my bar. All right, next up is another one that I had in my club for a long time. This is from the Frozen 2 collection, Fearless by Nature. Scentsy says, brave the journey with unwavering loyalty, traversing wildflowers and sage as you navigate the woods. This is a very, very unique scent. So this does have that kind of bordering masculine sage note that Scentsy has been using lately. But it also comes across as a little bit minty. I do get this kind of fresh minty burst from this, almost kind of like a spearmint type note. And then there is a little bit of that woodsy base. So this definitely smells kind of like a bright, fresh, outdoorsy winter scent. I really, really love this as a transition from winter to spring. So this is one of my favorite scents to warm in March, just because you do still get that kind of woodsy, sagey vibe that kind of smells like a crisp winter day. But then there is a little hint of the wildflowers that kind of signal like spring approaching, and I just love this as a transition from winter to spring. So the reason I took this out of my club is because my husband doesn't really love the like sharp kind of minty scents, and I don't want to put you off if you don't love mint scents, but there is something very crisp and refreshing about this scent, and I really, really like it. It's very clean, and this is a very good performer. I usually don't like to keep licensed bars in my club just because they do cost a little bit more money, but this one is worth it. All right, I have had this next bar in my collection for so long that it has actually discolored. This bar used to be kind of a very light blue color, and now it's this very light kind of purpley pink color. This is Glacial Ice. So this is a scent that we haven't seen in years, but this is one that is on my list of dream bring back my bars. So Scentsy says this is a touch of wild berry cooled by frosty mistletoe. So that's a very interesting description because that's not really what I get from this scent. I do get a burst of kind of a sweet minty freshness. It actually reminds me a lot of that kind of vanilla mint combo that's in Olaf Warm Hugs or even NHL Fresh Ice. But I think that it's that little tiny touch of berry that's adding just the littlest, slightest hint of perfume to this scent. So if you like scents like Fresh Ice or Warm Hugs, I really think that you should consider voting for Glacial Ice. I've wanted this one to come back forever, and I think I do need to go through the bars that I have left just because they are starting to get a little juicy and discolor, but this still smells really, really good. This is a lovely scent for the winter time and definitely one of my favorite kind of fresh minty scents. All right, next up is Grapefruit Sunshine. So Scentsy says, follow brisk citrus, pink grapefruit, and subtle vanilla to a brighter place. So this is definitely one of my favorite grapefruit scents from Scentsy because this grapefruit does not lean acrid at all. This is a very sweet, bright grapefruit. and it is just so pleasant for summer. So this is a perfect spring summer bar. I do get a little burst of kind of like a citrus melange almost, but nothing about this is acrid or leans like cat pee like some grapefruit scents can do. This is just bright, sunny, sweet, fresh grapefruit with a little tiny hint of vanilla to, again, add a little bit of sweetness. This is so, so good. So I think that this was available either in a clearance update or a flash sale recently, because I was able to stock up quite a bit on Grapefruit Sunshine, but I would not mind seeing this back in a Bring Back My Bar. This would definitely be one I would consider adding to my Scentsy club. All right, this next one is for the floral lovers. This is Ivy and Water Lily. Scentsy says this is mandarin zest, rain-kissed jasmine, and sheer amber beneath fresh dewdrops. So I think the reason that I like this is I do tend to like scents that have jasmine. And this is just the prettiest, soft floral perfumey scent. So you have to like floral to like this scent, but this is not a heady floral. This is not a powdery floral. This is just a pure, sweet, like perfumey jasmine scent. I think the mandarin in here does kind of balance out the floral notes so that it's not so heavy or heady or in your face. A little bit of that fresh dewdrop, I think, is making this feel a little bit fresh and lighter. This is a perfect spring scent. And then the sheer amber is not a heavy amber at all. This isn't super heavy or musky. This is just light and beautiful and perfect for the spring. So this is a floral scent for people, I think, who don't love super, super heady white florals. Those can kind of give me a headache sometimes, and this is not that. This is just sweet, pure, lovely, light, beautiful floral, and I love this one. All right, my phone just alerted me that it is running out of storage, so I had to pause the video and make some room. So if you notice a lighting change, that's why. I hope that I can hurry and get through the rest of this video. So next up is actually a scent that is still in my Scentsy club, but it is one of my all-time favorite scents, and I couldn't let this list of recommendations go by without mentioning it. It is Kahiko Hula. So Scentsy says, say aloha with exotic passion fruit, mango, and papaya. This is one of my all-time favorite scents for the summer. It is a perfect combination of those tropical fruity scents without smelling too like overly sweet or ripe. It's just a perfect combination. There's something about this that kind of smells cool, like a tropical popsicle almost. This is wonderful for the heat of summer. And notes like passion fruit and papaya can sometimes lean a little bit acrid or like cat pee to me, but this does not do that. This is a perfect tropical fruity scent and one that I love warming in the summer. All right, this next bar has been on my dream Bring Back My Bar list forever. It was a part of a summer collection years ago, I think even before Scentsy Club existed, and I have been wanting it to come back ever since. This is Life is Swell. So Scentsy says, more than a feeling, marine waters, mandarin, and driftwood will have the sand tickling your toes. So if you love aquatic scents, you should definitely vote for Life is Swell. This is my all-time favorite aquatic scent from Scentsy. If you've smelled Driftwood Bay, I think that came back recently in a flash sale. This smells like the aquatic part of Driftwood Bay without the masculine cologne note. So I think if you are sensitive to like cologne scents, this does not have that. This is just a very refreshing, clean, sweet aquatic scent. And I love this like for a bathroom in the summertime. So I have a little stash of Life is Swell, and this would be one that I would love to see in a Bring Back My Bar. And next up is another floral recommendation. This is Mariposa Lily. So Scentsy says, Mariposa Lily blooms with sugar apple and pineapple slices. So this actually smells a little similar to Ivy and Water Lily. I'll have to smell them next to each other. I think that it is a very similar lily base. The Ivy and Water Lily is a little brighter. I think you get a little bit more of that kind of dewdrop note from this one. So it is a little lighter, maybe a little bit more aquatic, where the Mariposa Lily smells a little bit more perfumey to me and maybe a little bit deeper. I think that Apple and Pineapple are giving it a little hint of kind of like a fruity sweetness as well. But this is another fruity floral perfumey scent that I love. This reminds me a lot of an Avon perfume that my mom wore called Rare Pearls. So if you've smelled that perfume and like it, this is very similar to that. But this is another floral scent that's not too imposing, it's not too heavy, it's not too heady. It's just very, very pretty. I think this one would be beautiful in a bedroom in the summertime. All right, next up is a scent that was featured in a Scents of the Season collection years ago. This is Poinsettia Pine, and Scentsy says sparkling pomegranate and tangerine layered with evergreens, amber, and spice. So this is a very, very pretty, fruity winter scent. I definitely get a very sweet pomegranate. And it almost reminds me of the pomegranate that was in Perfectly Pomegranate, but I really like it combined with the tangerine. It brings a little bit of that super saturated sweetness down a little bit. And then you do get a little hint of the evergreen that makes this smell very Christmassy and festive. So if you like scents like jeweled pomegranate, I think that you would really enjoy Poinsettia Pine. All right, this next one is a long shot, and I don't think that we will ever see it back in a Bring Back My Bar because it is so niche, but this is Simply Basil. So Scentsy says the description is Simply Basil. And so when I first got into warming Scentsy when I moved into my own apartment, this was one of my favorite scents for the kitchen, just because it is so clean and refreshing without smelling super citrusy. This is just a clean herbal scent. If you remember the scent, I think it was called Citrus and Rosemary. It was a spring brick years ago. This is kind of along the same vibes as that, with a very herbaceous scent that just smells very clean. So this smells like it might have a little hint of like a lemon verbena type base with that clean, fresh basil. It doesn't smell like a pizza parlor or anything like that. This just smells clean and fresh and herbal, and I love it. So I'll probably never warm this bar. I just like to hold on to it for sentimental value, but this is definitely one of my favorites. All right, and moving right along, we have Spiced Pear. So Scentsy says this is simmered pear and plum cider entice rich vanilla wood. I think we might have seen this somewhere along the line in a flash sale or a clearance update, because I do have a little stockpile of this one. But this one smells so good. So this is definitely a perfumey, almost body care pear scent. This is a really, really lovely scent to transition from summer to fall. It is beautiful. So you do get the pear. And I am picking up a little hint of kind of like a sweet plum with those kind of like mulled cider notes. But this is definitely more perfumey than something edible. The vanilla wood definitely grounds this and gives it kind of that like musky base. This is so pretty. So I would love to see Spiced Pear make a comeback. All right, I'm down to the last two, and ironically, these are my top two favorites that I'm voting for in this round. This is Sugared Cherry. Scentsy says, savor the changing seasons as frosted cherry and Concord grape are sweetened by a pop of pomegranate, vanilla sugar, and candied apple. So that is quite the scent description. There are a lot of scent notes in this scent. This is one of my all-time favorite scents. I love this cherry note from Scentsy. Scentsy has a few different cherry notes. They have that kind of sweet almond cherry that's in Cherry Almond Pie that was in the Sweetheart Sugar Cookie scent. They have that cherry, which I love. Then they also have this very like perfumey cherry that I don't love as much. That was in like Cherry Cherry, Cherry's Jubilee. I think it's the same kind of cherry note that was in the Sanderson Sisters scent. It's a very kind of like popular, like perfumey cherry. That is not what this cherry is. This is a beautiful, like clean spiced cherry. And I've always commented that I think this scent should actually be named spiced cherry instead of sugared cherry, because I definitely get some kind of like winter potpourri spices from this scent mixed with a very clean, bright cherry. It doesn't lean super perfumey cherry. It doesn't lean really almond cherry. It's just kind of right in the middle, a beautiful, bright, fruity, kind of candied cherry scent. I love it. And I'm not sure what is giving this a kind of like wintry potpourri scent. I think the pomegranate and the grape notes are making this feel like a very bright, fruity cherry. But I am not sure where I'm getting the like winter potpourri. I think it's just coming from the frosted cherry. If you like the cherry note that is in berry sweet, I think that you would like the cherry note that is in sugared cherry. I love it. I love this scent for January and February, especially like right around Valentine's Day. I would give almost anything to have this in my Scentsy club. So almost all of my votes are going to sugared cherry this round. And then not too far behind that, I'm actually throwing a few votes toward Very Merry Cranberry. So Scentsy says, lush red winter berries pop against a backdrop of snow-covered cedar, creating a lovely winter landscape. To me, this is just a very, very classic, fruity holiday cranberry scent. I don't get a lot of like a tree note from this like I do in something like Cranberry Garland. There is a little tiny hint of that just makes this smell very holiday forward from the cedar. But this is mostly a very fruity, festive cranberry. This was a Scentsy staple, and I still haven't figured out why they took this out of the catalog, because I think this is a perfect cranberry scent. It's just straightforward, festive, fruity, and perfect for the holiday season. So I would love to see Very Merry Cranberry make a comeback. I think this is the last bar that I have of this, so I would love to be able to stock up on this one. All right, so those are my top 15 scents for this round of Bring Back My Bar voting. They had to extend voting a little bit because something was wrong with the site yesterday. So we missed a large portion of the time that we could have been voting yesterday. So they're extending voting until the 6th. So you do have until then to get your votes in. I would love to know what you are going to vote for this round. Let me know if you've ever tried any of these scents that I mentioned. I would love to know. And like I said, if my phone memory allows, I will try to quickly scroll through the whole list of Bring Back My Bars and point out any other highlights that I think are worth mentioning. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.